61.
But I think it's well, that's what I mean.
The meeting's being recorded now.
Yeah, we're being recorded. Whoever's got the noise in the background, hit your mute or shut the sound off.
Still.
Because we're going to be live here in 35 seconds.
Yeah.
The noise is coming from the block that says Dennis.
Yeah. Most of the time. Others
You
it's on the
should be able to mute everybody, Dana.
Yeah,
Yes. You can.
there we go. All right. It is almost time. And Robert, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay.
There we go. Hey, good evening, everyone. It is 8 o'clock Eastern time. It is Tuesday, February 20th. This is the brand new, very first episode of the DMR Tech Net TV show, where instead of being on our radios like we normally are on Monday night, we are on Zoom, and we're going to live stream it to YouTube. But I had an error code tonight, so we will upload it later. Sorry about that. Anyway, I'm Dana, KC0MYP. I'm one of 7 members of the DMR Tech Net team. We started the Tech Net 2 years ago, last week, and we've been having fun just trying to explain and demystify digital mobile radio and make it fun for you guys. So tonight we're starting something new. We're going to do this on the 3rd Tuesday every month, and there's no cost. There's no fee to watch, and we're going to get some interesting people to talk about DMR, digital mobile radio. Tonight, we have our very first guest. It's Robert Bretzman K4WZV. He's one of the founders of TGIF, the network, and he's going to explain all about it. He's going to tell us some hints and tips, and also he is going to take your questions later on. So, also we will get questions. So we're still trying to figure out how to do everything with that, but we're getting there slowly but surely. So we got to walk before we can run. So anyway, if you have a question, you probably want to raise your hand, but we're not going to get those till probably in a half hour or so. So Robert, we're going to start out right away. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, your background. By the way, thank you for being your service with the military. Do appreciate that. I've got several friends that were Navy also. And tell us about TGIF, how it started, when it started, and we'll let you take it from here.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Dana. And it's a pleasure to be your guest tonight. Appreciate it. And I hope everybody's having a great evening. My name is Robert. I was in the Navy 1982 to 1986. I got out of the Navy and got into amateur radio. I was an electronics technician pretty much my whole life, component level repair, was always into electronics and all that kind of stuff. So ham radio was great, great hobby to get into. And well, it's a TGIF, okay. Back in October of 2018, a gentleman named Mitch, EA7KDO, who unfortunately now is a silent key. And this just happened recently on February 6th. Some of you might have heard of Mitch, but he's the one that started TGIF Network. He started it on a Raspberry Pi, okay. We had 4 or 5 users back in 2018, and a bunch of us, got together and wanted to test out everything on the Raspberry Pi, and it started to grow. And then a gentleman named Ty Weaver, KG5RKI, came along. If you guys have been in DMR for a while, you know Ty Tools for the MD380 radios. Well, Ty came along and he improved the HB link code. and he moved us to a cloud server at that point. And we just rapidly grew over the years. Before you know it, we were at 4,000 or 5,000 users. And later, a gentleman named Andy G7LRR met up with Ty, and those guys make a great team. Another gentleman, Michael K4WZV, came together, and they just were experts when it comes to writing code for this kind of stuff. So we called that the legacy server that those guys built up. It was just a single cloud server, and we just grew incredibly fast. And Ty came along and said, "Hey, you guys are going to outgrow the server. We need to do something." So at about the end of 2019, we were growing so fast. So Ty decided to completely rewrite the code from the ground up. I mean, totally from line one. And he didn't copy anything, any of the HB links or call manager stuff. He did it all from scratch. Okay, and it's just amazing. I think he told me there's 250,000 lines of code typed out, which is like, wow, really? But they worked with Andy and all them. Andy did all the dashboard work, and he did the YouTube videos and all that stuff that you can see online. It just really works great. So they handle all the code. They're the developers and all that, and I'm basically the administrator. I handle everything else from that. So as of right now, okay, we're on the new server. We call that Prime. The previous server was the legacy server. We have 1,675 talk groups as of today. Now, not a lot of them are used. Everybody wants a talk group, so we give talk groups no problem. And there's just under 14,000 registered users. And it's hard to believe since 2018 that we've grown that big, that fast. I mean, I'm in shock every day when I see the numbers myself. But it's we keep growing. We're adding quite a few people. A lot of people, will ask, why TGIF to other networks? I get that question a lot. There's other networks to choose from, of course. And I tell people, just try it and you be the judge. We've been told many a times our audio's better than other networks. So we just tell people to try it. Some of the great things about our network, and we're the only network that does this, when you have a talk group on our network, you are the administrator of your talk group, and you have complete administrative control of your talk group, which means you can hide your talk group so nobody even knows you're there. You can go incognito. You can control it. If somebody causes problems on your talk group, you can block them or ban them. You have complete control of your talk group. You have an ACL panel that you can do all that from. So a lot of people are really liking that. We allow bridging of any kind. The talk groups are in charge of what they want done on their talk group. Nobody needs permission. The only rules and regulations that we have is that you obey Part 97 FCC rules. That's the only rule we have. So we let everybody just do their thing. And that's pretty much it in a nutshell. We think we got a great network and many enjoy it. We hear from people all the time, and it's there for people to enjoy.
Join the meeting.
And that pretty much sums it up, Dana. I mean, we're there. Try it out, and I think you guys will enjoy it.
I know I do. One thing that I really like with TGIF is that there is no 10-minute limit like Brandmeister has on statewide talk groups, but that's because I had a few issues on that, and I'm not the only one. But
I could tell you some stories.
Well, speaking of Brandmeister, I heard a rumor that you and Matt and Andy or somebody, you guys used to work for Brandmeister. Is that right?
No, I never did. No. I was the first person globally banned from Grandmaster.
Really? Can you
Really?
tell me the details?
Well, it's a long story, but we just had some disagreements. I didn't agree with the way they were doing a lot of things, and I let them know about it. They didn't like that. So.
That's we were discussing it last night on the DMR Tech Net. We do that Monday nights, 7:30 p.m. Eastern to 8:30 p.m. Eastern. We're the first of two back-to-back nets, and we had Garrett Dow of repeaterbook.com with us last night, and we also had two repeater owners in Michigan. And one of the questions we had was about the 10-minute limit, but I don't want to steal the thunder of somebody. Tell me about the audio quality. You mentioned, and I like it. You guys sound good. Can you tell us a little bit more?
I wish I knew how it happened. Ty says he didn't do a thing to make it better. I mean, you can go to both networks and compare it, and we do have better quality sounding audio. Why that happens, I don't know, to be honest with you. I just know it exists. You know, Ty, you ask him, well, why is it better? You know, what'd you do? He says, I don't know. You know, I mean, there's nothing that he did. You know, he won't admit that he did anything, at least to us, but it is better for some reason.
I used to work at a radio station, and they said we were the best sounding AM station on FM, which really wasn't a compliment back then. So, can you tell me about some new features or things you guys are looking at? I got a wish list over here, but I'd rather have you. What is coming down the road? What are you guys looking to do or expand out or upgrade?
Okay, there's a couple things they just worked on recently. We added private calls, so you can do private calls now. They added talker alias recently, and they added SMS messaging recently. So I think there's a little bit of work that not all SMS messaging works quite as it's supposed to, so they're still working on that. Things that they're going to add, they want to add something to make it easier to hook repeaters up to the network. Right now, you have to have HP Link 3, and it's a little bit difficult for people to set up servers and all that, and link everything together. So they want to make something that can be done right from your control panel to link servers or repeaters up to make that easier for folks. They want to do APRS and get that up and running. They have a mapping function that they've been working on where you can pull up a map, a Google map, like, and if anybody talks, it'll show up on the map, you know, with their call sign. And you could have like a friends list. You know, you can create a friends list. So if any of your friends are on and they key up, it'll show it on the map. They're working on that. They're working on a scan program. Right now, you can key 777 on your radio and put it in promiscuous mode, and it'll scan all the talk groups on the network. You don't have any control with that, how long it stays, but it will go through and scan. Once traffic stops on a channel or a talk group for a certain amount of time, it'll continue scanning on the network. So again, you just key 777, put it in promiscuous mode, your radio. It'll just keep scanning all the talk groups. Now they want to make something that the user can control. So make up your own scan list. Say you want to scan these 10 talk groups and maybe be able to set a time it stays on each talk group. That's coming down the line too. So unfortunately, all this takes time, and we don't have a full-time coder. You know, he's got a regular job and all that. So when they get to it, they're going to do that. And there's going to be some neat things coming down the line.
Wow, good stuff. If somebody has a suggestion for an idea feature they'd like, how do they get it to you? Secondly, is there a way that if we want to donate, do you have like a PayPal a group? If we want to, because we use the network, we don't pay for it. But if we hopefully we're smart and we're hams that we want to contribute, how would we do that?
Yeah, there's a donation link. That anybody has a talk group that pops up. There's a donation link on the announcements. If you scroll down, I don't know if you can scroll down there, but in the menu, in the help menu, if you scroll down, there's a "How do I donate" thing, and there's a link there. And all the funds go into a COFR fund. And as the server bills become due, it comes out of there. We have 2 servers now. They both work together. There's going to be great redundancy now with the servers. They're smart servers, so if one goes down, the other one's going to take over, and vice versa. So you can donate from there. For suggestions and ideas, we have a Discord group. If you need an invite, just send me an email and I'll send you the invite link. And there's a section in Discord for suggestions, feature requests and all that, and you can put it in there. And those guys that write the code, Andy and Ty, are the ones that look at that and decide what they can and can't do or when they can do it. But it's right on the Discord group.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you very much for that. I've got a couple more questions, and we're going to go to the rest of the team, and then we're going to take anyone watching that wants to ask a question on that. Static talk groups, we can do that on Brandmeister. What about with TGIF?
Well, right now on TGIF, we don't have that. That is another thing that we're thinking about adding, but we want to make it where you can choose if you want static talk groups or not. Okay, so that is coming down the line, where you'll be able to choose from your self-care page if you want to have static talk groups or not. So that is another thing that is coming down the line.
Okay, and final question I have is the TGIF store, tgifspot.com. You got some cool stuff on there, and I like you've got a plug and play package, radio and hotspot, and I like you've got multiple hotspots. And Dan told me this like half a year ago, but you design, you build them, and you test them before you ship them out. Is that correct?
That is correct. Absolutely. We give a year warranty with any desk support, and as long as you give the right configuration information to set up, Wi-Fi information is important. They're plug and play, pretty much plug and play.
Cool. All right, let's go. We're going to start. There are 6 other DMR Tech Net team members here, but we only have 5 here tonight. So we're going to start top of the list. Tom, N8PJ. He's a DMR Tech Net TV member. Tom, what question or questions do you have for Robert and
everybody.
TGIF?
Hello, everybody, and hi, Robert. Thanks for joining us tonight. I always wonder with TGIF Network, how many admins maintain how many servers, and where are they? Are they in Florida, nearby? How many guys does it take to do the daily tasks involved in running the TGIF network? And how much time do they spend doing it? Can you talk about that for a minute?
Yeah. There's 3 main administrators: myself, Ty Weaver, and Andy Nielsen, G7LRR. The last 2 guys are the code writers and stuff. I handle all the administrative stuff, talking to people and all that. And we have several people that help out with the forum page. Mark, AD2CH, is with us tonight. He helps out with that. A gentleman named Phil, V3RD, helps out with the support emails. We get a lot of support email, answering questions for folks and all that. But the servers pretty much take care of themselves besides the code part of it. As long as we keep paying the bill, the servers keep running. And Ty and Andy take care of anything that goes on with the servers as far as the code, the working on the back end, keeping it up and running. So, but the three main servers, the three main administrators are myself, Ty, and Andy.
Okay. And so what operating system do they run?
They're all running on Linux. What was it Bullseye, I think. I'd have to check on that. I'm not sure the exact operating system. I'm not the code guy. I know nothing about the code.
Okay, that's interesting. You never know. I just wonder how
Yeah.
much time, it takes. It's such a great, I look at it, I think of it as a giant repeater. It's a great big giant repeater. Or,
Yeah.
same thing, you got 7-8 repeaters hooked together, whatever the one's closest to you, you put that in your radio and you now have a giant repeater. It's the same thing with configuration settings.
Right.
For
Yeah,
TGIF.
it is a lot of time and effort. I spend probably a good part of the day on support emails and, helping folks out, can't get their hotspots connected, explaining things, how to connect to the network and, basic stuff like that. A lot of the hams that are out there, the older hams, some of them might not be real computer literate, stuff like that. And we help everybody. There's nobody that we, say, go read this. We're always willing to help.
That's great. So you're basically, you have your business of hotspots, right? Your little hotspot device.
Mm-hmm.
And then you run this, that's what you spend your day doing. And you're, other than that, which is full time, but you're not, you don't work any other job. You're retired.
No, I'm retired. Yep.
That's pretty great. So on your little hotspot, I hear all kinds of good stuff about it. How long does it take to boot? When you power it up, it's all configured. You turn on your Wi-Fi connection that you've configured it to talk to, and you turn it on. How long do you think?
Well, the newer ones that I use Raspberry Pi 4s for take anywhere between 35 seconds to boot up from a start. The little junior ones use Raspberry Pi 02s. Those take a little bit longer, maybe about a minute, a little less than a minute, 45 seconds.
Cool. All right. That just seems like, the portability of a hotspot and changing things, doing things. If you have a DMR radio in your car and you made the mistake of wiring it through a relay, turn off your car because you're not thinking, that radio's got a boot and it takes 45 seconds or 30 seconds even, and everybody wonders what happened to you. That's why I always put my radios direct to the battery. But that's just a thing with DMR. It'll go away as everything becomes more sophisticated. And that reminds me, one thing that Garrett said last night from Repeater Book, that you'll soon be able to click on the link in Repeater Book and the settings will go into your radio. So that's no more writing it down and going over to your computer, plugging it in. That's what they're working on now. It was kind of the same conversation as you have been giving us here tonight, Robert. So I love the TGIF network. It's great. It's like wide open throttle. You can just go. Nobody, you don't have to worry about the speed limit or the time limit. And that to me is ham radio right there. If you make a mistake, you just say sorry and you don't worry about it. I really like the idea of the TGIF network. And on basically all my different radios, I'm adding more and more TGIF groups to them. I'm on there's a TGIF group that gets into the Eastern Michigan link here in the east side of Michigan where I live. It's repeaters up and down the east side. It even actually almost all over Michigan now, but TGIF gets in there. And I tell people that's a reason to get on that TGIF network. You can jump in there when if you're a little bit too far away from a repeater and you've got internet. So keep doing whatever you're doing. It's greatly appreciated by however many hams. I don't know how many you use it this week. Do you keep track of a number of subscribers? People that put an ID and password in, whether they're on much or not. I mean,
yeah, we can see at any time who's connected, where they're at. We've got all that capability. you know, to see it. It's amazing.
So how many accounts are there then? How many hams?
We have just under 14,000 accounts, registered accounts. At any given time, there's anywhere from 4,000 to 5,000 people connected.
I'd like to see 4,000 to 5,000. I'd like to see the Brandmeister, TGIF, Mark Plus, all those different networks, and see what the user. Just keep watching it and see how it goes. I guarantee you, more people are moving on to TGIF. Brandmeister is very good, and it's a good place to start for a lot of reasons. But I think people start expanding out as they figure DMR out a little bit. You look for more places to go.
Absolutely. Yep.
Cool.
That's the only question. That's what I had, Dana. That's what I was interested. If anybody else has something more interesting, let it rip.
We'll rip our way down the list. By the way, something I really like, Robert, you make it easy to add a talk group. I know that your competitors don't make it so easy, if anything at all. So
we don't have a problem with giving anybody a talk group. No problem at all. Within 12 hours, it's approved.
And but Steve's coming up here after this one, by the way. Colin, I saw that you're in the audience. We'll get to you in a bit with questions about how you might be able to add TGIF to your repeater in Detroit. So, but first we're gonna stay in Florida. Stan, WB8QJZ, longtime user, one of our members of the DMR Tech Net team. Stan, what questions do you have for Robert tonight?
Well, Dana, thank you very much. And I'm so happy that Robert is here. And, we're touching on the network itself, but I'd like to touch on the business and the hardware end of things behind that. And that's TGIF, the .com. And as you know, I mess around with hotspots. I think I have, right now I have 15 that are registered with Brandmeister, registered with somewhere, and a whole bunch of stuff online. And I try everything under the sun. I was fortunate enough to get 2 of Robert's hotspots. The TJF spot, the big one with the 3.5-inch Nextian touchscreen, and I've got the junior hotspot. The junior I've got on TGIF all the time. The other one I've got on Brandmeister all the time. I think I've rebooted those twice since I got down to Florida here at the end of September. They're rugged, they stay up, and the big one with the touchscreen, Robert, could you elaborate on everything that you've got built into that? Because I don't think a lot of people know about it, and it's a well-kept secret.
Okay. On my website, tgifspot.com, on the left side, there's a tree with a bunch of links. There's a nice PDF file that a gentleman named Vic, VE3JAR, helped make up, and it goes through the whole operating things that you can do on the screen, all the different things the screen will do. It's a nice, pictorials and everything, but you can do so much stuff on the screen. You can adjust your bit error rate from the screen. One thing you can do is you can connect to an ambient Wi-Fi. You don't need your computer. Okay, you can do it all from the touchscreen. Okay, you can hit scan Wi-Fi, and select them and connect to it. It's got a 6-channel scope that you can monitor your UDP packets, bit error rate, temperature, and all that on a scope. It's got hold times. You can adjust the hold times from the display. There's just many things you can do from there, but it's best just to go look at that PDF. You can clone the SD cards right from the hotspot. A lot of people like to have backups. There's just some command lines you run, and you can plug it right in, your SD reader writer into the hotspot and make a clone copy of it. So there's a lot of features. And I have to acknowledge Mitch, who's a silent key now, EA7KDO. He wrote all the code, him and James KF6S, that makes those touchscreens do what they do. Thousands of hours went into making that Nexian screen do what it does. It really is an amazing piece of work.
And the thing that I found totally amazing is your support of devices. Now, I look for bargains, and I found both of my spots. Somebody had them, and they messed them up, and they couldn't do anything with them. I got them in. I started fixing this and that, and I went to your website, and it says backup of card, $18.79. And I wrote Robert and gave him all my information, my Wi-Fi information, my ID information, the radio channels, everything else. And literally 2 days later, he sent me an SD card. I plugged it in and everything worked, including all the drivers, all the touchscreen stuff, everything. And we did the same thing with the junior spot, which is great for limited applications. Plus, if you really want to go into it, you got your Brandmeister, your normal dashboard and functions are available. You can really connect to it that way if you really want to. So again, fantastic job, and guys, you should really take a look at it because it's really good stuff. And those were my questions, Dana.
Well, thank you, Stan. And yeah, I was looking at that. He's got the plug and play with a handheld. I think it's a TYT. I could be wrong, but Brad will catch me on that one. Steve, KC8WXM is another one of our DMR Tech Net team members. Steve's up in Petoskey. Steve, what questions do you have tonight for Robert? And if anyone else has a question, hang on. We're going to get to the Tech Net team first, and then we'll take your questions.
Well, I don't have any questions, but I do have some comments. I do like that fact that you can do everything from the TGIF spot right on the dashboard there for like the 3.5-inch size screen. That's pretty nice. And also the fact on the TGIF network where you don't have to do a disconnect. You don't have to do a 4000 disconnect. You could just switch to a different talk group. So that's kind of the difference between Brandmeister static talk groups where you're going to build up a whole bunch of talk groups you're monitoring and Digimonitor. But then with TGIF, if you switch talk group, that's it. You're just on the other talk group. So I like that feature in that way. So you're not stuck with, who's talking where, when, and trying to figure out where they're at on your radio. That's my comment there.
Okay. Well, Steve, I want to go back to you for just a minute. So last year, we had a work all states with DMR contest in July, and I ended up talking more than 10 minutes on another network, and I got talk group banned. the Dana algorithm. So I got talk group banned, and it took like 36 hours, but several people came to bat for me, and they finally released the talk group ban so I can use it. But they've increased that if you're out of the US or don't live in that state, they kind of block you. And I bet we might get a question from Ron on that tonight. But my point is, Steve, how easy was it for you? Because Steve created the talk group for us. Steve, you want to talk about that?
Yeah, all I had to do is fill out the form for the talk group, pick your talk group number, and it's available. It was up very fast. I don't even, this a while ago when we did that, so I don't even remember. It wasn't very painless, very nice.
And you want to tell everyone what talk group number and what the purpose of it is?
Yep, it's 31268 DMR Tech Net. And that's for our tech. Now, I just uploaded our picture up on the on that channel too. If someone goes to that on TGIF, they'll see our new logo up there.
Very cool. Speaking of nets, Robert, why don't you tell everyone Friday night you do a net? You want to explain a little bit more about that?
Yeah, every Friday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern, we run the TGIF net, which has been going on since the very beginning of things. And we either pick a subject and we open it up for discussion, amateur radio topics. I've even had some nets that weren't even amateur radio topics, like 3D printers or whatever we come up with, and we do check-ins and we let people ask questions, and we discuss anything that comes up and pass it around. Everybody has a chance to speak. And I see Mr. Phil there, V3RD. Hi, Phil. He records the nets for everybody, which are available on the forum. So should you miss a net, Phil's kind enough to record them for us so you can listen to them later, because not everybody can be there Fridays at 8:30. So we understand that.
And tell us again the talk group that's on and the time it runs.
It's on talk group 31665, and it starts at 8:30 p.m. Eastern.
And if anyone has a question, that's also a talk group they can ask for assistance. Is that right?
Yeah, anybody can get questions answered. There's always very smart people. I'm not saying I'm smart or anything, but we have a great group of people that are always listening, that can answer questions about anything pretty much. It's amazing the grouping of hams we got. So if you have a question, yell out on the talk group. Somebody's going to come back to you with an answer.
I found that out. I have on my radio, I've got the DMR Tech Net, then a disconnect or the parrot channel, and then the I call it the TGIF Net, the 31665, and I grabbed that one by mistake and I started talking, think I'm talking to the TechNet channel, and some guy, I forget, really nice in Iowa. I wondered who you were talking about, but no, oops, my mistake. Sorry about that. So anyway, Tom, you've got your hand raised, and then after that, we'll get over to Brad.
Just a quick question there, Robert. So you've got the TGIF spots, which you hear all kinds of good things about, but there's no mention of those in the TGIF network. You purposely keep those two entities separate?
Yeah, absolutely. The TGIF hotspots is totally separate from TGIF network.
Seems like just a tiny little link in the corner of the TGIF network page would get you a lot busier. I really didn't know about TGIF spots until Stan told me about them, I think, or something. I knew about the TGIF network. That's the only reason it came to my mind. I knew about the network. I didn't know about TGIFspot.com until sometime later. So, it's not no right or wrong answer, but most people I would think would combine those two, but I'm sure you have good reason not to. Keep the efforts separate.
Yeah. This is the other developers thought that would be the best idea, the best way to do it. So we just went along.
All right.
Thanks, Tom.
You got it.
We've got a relatively new ham celebrating an anniversary, 1 year and 5 days since he got his license, and he's been on DMR. He's one of our team members, and that would be Brad KC or KE8, WNV, who also runs a net on Saturday nights on TGIF. Brad, what questions do you have tonight? Brad, no audio.
Sorry, I mute my headset at the hardware out of habit because I don't trust digital mute buttons. So my question would be with the TGIF hotspots. Are those set up to natively work on TGIF, such as like the WPSD dashboard? I have to turn that feature on and then do like 5003126 to get on like the Michigan statewide, for example, as my talk group ID.
The TGIF hotspots work on Pi-Star, Andy Taylor's Pi-Star image. Okay, they use code from MMDVM host. The W0CHP was done by Chip. Okay, that is a fork of Pi-Star, and for whatever reason, he has not adjusted his stuff to work with our hotspots. I don't know why, but that would be on him. But right now, the way they are, the Nexian screen, all the code is for Pi-Star. They work with Pi-Star.
Okay, so you would have to have padding in there to get onto the TGIF network still. It may not be the number 5. I can't remember what it was on Pi-Star, but you'd have to do a designator to get on there then, correct?
Yeah, you can. There's the DMR gateway. Actually, Phil that's with us here wrote some really good DMR gateways, which are better than the prefix type of gateways. You can see it on the forum page. There's
Okay.
Gateway 4, which makes it really nice. So check it out. If you like doing the DMR gateway, that's the way to do it.
Okay. That's all the questions I had was that one, because I was looking into the hotspot. I do have the TYT 380 already with the OpenGD 77 firmware you guys put on there, and it's makes the radio so much better. So that's just more incentive for me to get one of those packages. Is already have an amazing radio with it.
Yeah, we put the OpenGD 77 on, and Roger Clark over in Australia is the one that did all that, and he takes an average OEM radio and makes it into a super nice radio. It's amazing with the OpenGD 77.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's all the questions I had.
Cool.
Thank you for
Brad.
being here tonight.
And happy anniversary, Brad. 1 year. Cool. We're going to go to the final member of the DMR Tech Net team who's with us tonight, and then we're going to take a little fork down to Detroit and talk to a repeater owner who joined us last night on the DMR Tech Net. So first, let's go to Rick, 88KN. Rick, do you have questions for Robert tonight?
Oh, I've got a couple. Given that I'm a back end kind of guy, not from the as technical, I'm kind of curious as to what the code's written in. Is it written in C, given that it's on, or do you know?
It's in C++.
Okay.
The back end call manager code.
Microsoft stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
I assume it's got a SQL database behind it and all that fun stuff.
C++
Yeah.
is more universal, so you can use it on anything like Linux.
And I am just the last topic just kind of made me a little curious. I understand why in Pi-Star, and I've got an MMDVM hotspot and a Pi running it, but I had to get into the code and I could never actually get it to work to pick up the prefix and switch it over to TGIF. Without that prefix on there, how are you switching networks from, Brandmeister, whatever, to TGIF?
There's several ways to do that. You can do it manually by just simply selecting our server and going to get your hotspot security password up on your TGIF dashboard. Your calls on the right-hand side when you sign into the dashboard, and there's a drop-down menu, and you can go get your 16-digit hotspot security, copy it to a clipboard, and bring it back. All your ID numbers will be listed there in the hotspot security, and you just put it in and apply changes.
Okay, so you physically have to select the network you want to be on, and then whatever is in your code plug is going out to that network.
That's one way. The other ways with the DMR gateway. So a lot of people, Phil, the gentleman I was talking to that wrote some DMR gateway code, you can key the radio up and switch networks that way. There's several ways to do that. So
Hmm.
you can have a certain talk group programmed in. I forget the exact numbers, but you key it up and it'll switch to Brandmeister. You key it up and it'll switch to DMR Plus or whatever. That's one
Okay.
way to do it. Another way to do it's with the prefixes and stuff. So you
Okay.
got to rewrite the talk group rules, but there are several ways to do that.
Okay. That was my curiosity. I'll let you get on to other folks here. You need to answer some more questions. Go. Thank you much.
Yep, no problem, Rick. Anytime.
Okay, thank you, Rick, on that one. We have a repeater owner who has a repeater who finally got it back working again in the Detroit area. We chatted last night with Colin, and I noticed he doesn't have TGIF as on his repeater. So what would he have to do to add a TGIF channel to it? But first, let me go to Colin. Colin, W8CMC, questions you have or you'd like to know about?
Yeah, no questions here. I love the conversation. It's good to hear from everybody and actually put a face to everybody. So, but I didn't really have any questions. I did notice on the TGIF Network page, there's nothing that really talks about repeaters or adding repeaters. It talks, there's some frequently asked questions about hotspots, but I don't see any direction there about repeaters. So just kind of wondering where all that's located, if I have to register or something to see that.
Okay, yeah, you don't have to register. If you have a talk group, you can bridge anything you want to your talk group. You're responsible for the code and all that to do that. Right now, the only way to do it, and that's changing, that's going to change in the future. But right now, you have to run HP Link 3 on a server and connect your repeater that way through HP Link 3. That is the best way to do it, unless you know somebody with a C bridge that'll let you link that way. There's Chicago has a C bridge. I think there's a couple places that do, but as of right now, HP Link's the best way to do it. And like I said, that's going to change in the future when Ty gets the time to do it.
Sounds good. So it sounds like there might be several TGIF talk groups that are already linked to Brandmeister already that we can use. Not sure if that's the case, but that's probably the easiest way. And Dana, my repeater, so just so you know, just the stuff that's published is not everything that you can get. Those are just the static talk groups. I mean, you can get anything dynamically. If you just program it in your radio, it'll be there. So whatever TGIF translates over to Brandmeister and vice versa, we'll be able to use on the Detroit repeater.
Yeah, there are some talk groups, not a whole lot. Brandmeister doesn't like that on a lot of them, like the main talk groups and stuff. But there are some smaller talk groups that they will allow that. We don't have a problem with the bridging. So if they'll let you do it, yeah, go for it.
All right. Sounds good on that one, Robert.
Very
Colin,
cool.
thanks for the question. And that would be more of like for Tom N8TJ or Greg W8VIJ that had those on that one. I saw a question in the chat, and give me a minute here. I gotta figure out where the heck I saw that one. And but you know what? I just zapped everything out of there. Sorry about that. Stan, help me out. There's a question in the chat that Stan responded to, but before then, it was something about getting a talk group.
Registration email. Dave in a November 8 Sierra Bravo Echo stated trying to register on TGIF but not getting the authentication email.
Yeah, it's been about 15 minutes and I've had it even resent and I haven't gotten either one of them.
Okay, all you have to do is send support an email and we'll get it fixed for you. Well, what's your email address? Some of the email addresses sometimes we have problems with.
This one, I own this domain.
Okay.
So I
Yeah.
gave it tgif@densby.com. I own the domain Densby since 1995.
Okay.
And
Yeah,
it's hosted on qth.com. I quit using N8SBE at ARRL.net because their forwarding service is completely broken.
Yeah, sometimes the ISPs block it for I don't know what reason, but
Yeah.
just send us an email and we'll get you manually approved. Not a problem.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I saw there was a support email to send something to, so I'll use that.
Yeah, we're pretty quick about responding. So just if you don't get an email back, just send it and we'll get you manually approved in no time.
Cool, Dave. Hope that helps out right there. Hey, if you guys have a question, raise your hand or unmute yourself. We've still got 10 more minutes that we can talk with the genius, the brains behind TGIF.
One quick,
I guess I understand it. If I'm running PyStar, I can just hang it up. I'm not going to get a TGIF version of PyStar.
No, yeah, you can go to any network if nothing's locked in with PyStar.
Oh, well, I mean, I'm actually running an older version of PyStar. I have a nano spot, and it's still running on the major version 3.
Okay.
There's no clear way for me to upgrade it to 4 because it uses internal E² memory. It doesn't run an SD card. It's got an SD card slot on it, but I think that if I boot it from that, then I don't know how to transfer that to the internal E² to get it to run that way. And the company that made them is out of business.
Yeah, I know who made him. The guy out in Las Vegas. Gotta forget his name. But you should be able to select our server. You should be able to select our server. It should be in the drop-down list because when he was making it, we were around.
Okay, well, I didn't see it there, but I can take another look. I also have an open spot 3. I think that will let me do TGIF on it.
There's
Yeah,
also
open spots. Yeah, OpenSpot added us a while back. Absolutely.
Okay.
There's
And I have an
also
ARP
a
finder
line
that
of
does
code you
DMR
can
over
add.
IP.
That'll work too. I got one sitting here. So
Yeah.
oh, the
but
DMR over IP won't work. I don't know what they've done with that, but there's problems with that.
Okay, hold on. Before we go to Brad, just like Greg and Kurt, you guys are coming up. Brad, your comment?
So if you're running an older version of PyStar, I was the first time I got on TGIF. There is a line of code you can add in the advanced settings to enable TGIF, DMR, free DMR, and all kinds of different ones. I'll see if I can't dig that up and email that to you later, Dave.
Yeah, you can add a custom server in the PyStar.
Okay. All right. Thanks.
I think that's what I had to do on my old PyStar too. I had to have the whole section for the network for it added in.
Yeah, there's a whole
Yeah,
section of
you
code.
just got to get in. I've got that information too. You can add it in there. It's in the DMR host.txt.
In the expert settings, yeah.
Yeah, it's in expert settings. So you just go into the CD space root, I think it is, and then go to you do a list ls, and then all the text files will be there. DMR host.txt you want to get into, and
They'll all be read only unless you unlock them.
yeah, RPI-RW.
Yeah, I'll include a YouTube video I followed that helped me out when I send you that stuff. Is your QRZ email good?
That was to Dave.
Yeah. The QRZ email is good. Just N8SBE. Sideband engineer.
Yep, I'll get that to you in the next 24 hours or so.
All right, thank you, Brad. Thank you. I appreciate
Absolutely.
All right, we're down to 6 minutes left. Kurt, we're going to go to you first. KF0CON or CQN, excuse me. Your question.
So Question about future enhancements. So one of the features I use on Brandmeister is the hose line, because sometimes I'm at work and I can't participate with what's going on, but I like to listen. And I don't know, is there any option or any thoughts about adding that to TGIF?
We've talked about that, but it uses a lot of resources. At this time, we don't plan on adding a hose line. It's real easy to set up Broadcastify if you want to monitor a specific talk group. That's what a lot of people do. But at this point, we don't think we're going to do a hose line.
Okay, Kurt, did that answer your question?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you very much.
Cool. Thank you for asking that one. Greg, K0MGL, you're up next, and then we'll go to Stan.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for the good information. It's I've been watching TGIF grow and emerge since before TGIF was there. So it's good to get an update and see where things are headed. This isn't really specific to TGIF. It's more just kind of a general question around a best practice. So we've got multiple different, DMR networks that we might be able to connect to. Some of them are small, some of them are larger. I've got a guy that here in Colorado who runs a series of repeaters, and he's got his own way that I can connect my hotspot directly into that instead of a TGIF or some other network, for example. So there's lots of different options. And my question is what's the best practice? Should you have one hotspot and then use something like DMR Gateway to be able to connect to multiple networks at once from one hotspot, or to use the other techniques that you talked about, Robert, of changing those networks from within that one hotspot? Or do people feel that it's a better practice to have multiple hotspots, each one of those hotspots dedicated to one network, sort of similar to the question of should I have multiple modes on one hotspot, or should I have multiple hotspots, each one designated for a different digital voice mode? So I'd appreciate anybody that's got some knowledge or opinion or information about who you've gathered on those. I'd love to hear that.
Okay, I'll give you a little information, and everybody's got a different opinion on this. It's a preference thing. Okay, it's what do you want to achieve? Okay, myself, I think it's better to have separate hotspots with the different networks. I can pick up any one of my radios and talk right away. I see somebody coming over to display. Okay, a lot of people like the gateway because it's easy. If you're driving around in a car, to switch networks just by keying your radio. So it's really a preference thing, what you like. I myself can only talk to one person at a time, so, if you want different things coming in all at once, in the networks, but it's really a preference thing. So that's why there's many different ways to do things. It's what you think will work best for you.
Greg, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I appreciate the information. I was looking for, expertise and opinions. I know it's kind of a mixed bag. People may approach it from different angles. So thank you.
I was going to say, I got one of my friends, Jack, KE0VH, Skyhub Link out in Colorado. Yeah. I lived most of my life out there. Great. They have that Monday Night Net. That's really good. So,
yep.
Cool. And finally, Stan, last question of the night for Robert.
Okay, real quick question. I play around with Ham Shack Hotline, and I've got wonderful ways to bridge into a lot of different networks, repeaters, and whatnot. Is there any bridging capability right now from Ham Shack Hotline into TGIF so I can just hit a button on my VoIP phone and get into a talk group?
I'm not aware of any talk groups that do that. Stan, we let the talk group admins do what they want to do. We totally stay out of what the talk groups want to do. The admin of the talk group can do, if they want to do that, they can set it up and do that. We don't come in and say, sorry, you can't do that. We're a network that believes in experimentation and having fun. And and we let people go, to do what they want to do.
All righty, thank you.
You're welcome.
Cool. Looking at the clock, it is 8:59. It's been a fun hour, I'll tell you that. And we want to thank, first of all, Robert of the TGIF Network for joining us tonight. It's not a Friday night, but I think a lot of people learned a lot, and hopefully they'll think about experimenting and playing with TGIF. The DMR Tech Net team, and really thanks you so much for joining us tonight on our very first DMR Tech Net TV. And if you guys pass the word, we'll get the word out to let about DMR is fun. Next month is our next episode, and that will be Tuesday, March 19th. We're going to go over the WPSD interface for your Pi-Star hotspot with Brad, Rick, and maybe Chip. So thank you all for joining us, 73s, and join us Monday night for the DMR TechNet on Brandmeister Talk Group 3126 at 7:30, and join Robert Friday night on his TGIF network 31665 at 8:30 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Quick question,
Good
Dana.
chat.